Hi, welcome world. My name's Viv and this is Brendan. We're here from Catalysr presenting Migrapreneur stories. Today we've got Long beside us. How are you going, Long?
Great, thank you for having me today.
To give you a very embarrassing introduction, Long is the co-founder of TTI Migration and Investment Consulting, which specialises in providing business skills migration pathways to overseas entrepreneurs and investors. Prior to TTI, Long has a storied history working for multinational corporations in multiple sectors. That's quite an impressive resume, Long. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, how you got, I understand you were also a Catalysr, you're one of the original Catalysr first founding cohort members. Tell us a bit about yourself, how you got involved in Catalysr and what TTI is all about.
Yep, long story short, I'm from Vietnam. My name is Long from Vietnam. I came to Australia in 2003 as an international student. At that time, Australia is always a big dreams of mine. Always want to come here to learn the world-class education that we have in Australia, and hopefully one day I can get a stable job and settle in Australia permanently. 2003 came in here doing my high school, and after that I studied to become a chef, to do some cookings. And then after that, feel like, I love it, but I think that I can do something more. So at that time, I decided that I want to move into migration industry, to giving immigration advisors, to helping people that can go through the similar journey as I do before, because I think it's something very meaningful job to do, and that can create a lot of meaningful jobs and job satisfaction for myself. So at that time, that is back in about 2014, that is when I got these ideas, want to establish the business. Then at that time I got my license, and but then once I got my license, I'm just still not sure on how to launch a business, because launch a business is easy, but to make it become successful is another story. So then in 2016, Catalysr had the first cohort of the Migrapreneurs, and at that time, I think it's a wonderful opportunities for me to apply, get on board, and it was quite very competitive to apply for, get the interviews, and finally get in. Then I done the first cohort, and then at that time, Usman and the Catalysr team really gave me a lot of insight, helped me to do a lot of preparation to launch the business. And then I think after that program, I had actually launched my business in the end of 2016.
So, I mean, as you mentioned, launching a business this day is super easy with the advent of the internet. So you mentioned you wanted to, launch your business successfully. So what are some of the stories and lessons from the Catalysr experience that you used to make your business a success?
Okay. So what I really learned from Catalysr that can really help my business success is preparation is the key. So when you have an idea, you shouldn't just go straight away jumping from that idea and launch the business straight away. It takes some time to prepare, do some groundwork, start making connections, making the connection with the people in your network, for those that can really help you to nurture that idea. And my business ideas from the start, before I joined Catalysr program, it's different. It's quite different after going through to the program, because through the program, then the Catalysr team and all the in-house mentors are really happy to refine that ideas and give me different perspective on how to take that idea to the next level and prepare for a successful launch and also a sustainable growth in the futures for my business as well.
Yeah, wow. I mean, what would you find? I mean, given the type of... Actually, Why did you start up the business to start off? Like, what was the motivation for this particular type of thing? Because as I've read from the bio, it's targeting a very specific type of overseas entrepreneur. Like, what was the motivation to have that particular skill set?
Okay. The main reason for me to targeting this type of business entrepreneurs and investors, because I personally find it that this is one of the way that I can help to contribute to for a better and more prosperous Australia, and also to my mother country Vietnam as well. So for this type of business entrepreneurs and investors, when they going through the program to migrate to Australia, they will need to invest quite a significant amount of money, and at the same time they need to create jobs for Australian permanent residents as well as citizens. Just one example is for those clients of mine who need to go for the business talent visa subclass 132, then if they would like to come to New South Wales, then they would need to invest at least $1.5 million into New South Wales business, and at the same time need to create at least 5 full-time equivalent employments for Australian permanent residents and Australian citizens. So if I can get those numbers of clients, multiply them, by 10, by 100, then the indirect contribution of myself to Australia it will also amplify it. And to date, we from the number of clients that we are helping successfully to go through this program, we are contribute to date is about 20 to 40 million dollars. And also, we are creating, say, about 40-50 full-time jobs potentially with all the clientele that we have, and this number can be growing. But this will not only benefit to Australia though. At the same time, it also benefit my mother country Vietnam, where I come from as well, because when these clients come to Australia, they will become like a migrapreneurs like myself as well, and then at that time they will see what Australia have, what good in Vietnam. They can start all the bilateral trade, exporting the products from Vietnam to Australia and vice versa from Australia to Vietnam. So in summary, the reason for why that I'm choosing this type of target market, because I think that my work, because I think initially I think, and until now, I actually have I have a really strong feeling about the job satisfactions that and I can feel proud of what I'm doing to both the country, Vietnam and Australia, which is my both of the countries are my homes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you talk about Vietnam a lot. Is there anything that you learned from the early portion of your life, from the Vietnamese culture that you've brought over to start your business?
Yep. Yes, certainly for that, from as being a Vietnamese, I'm very proud of my heritage, and we always trying our best to achieve our dreams, and also to never give up until our dream become a reality. So that what we take with us, and then when we come to Australia, because the Vietnamese community in Australia is also quite strong and quite big. So we bring that heritage with us. We come over here and we would like to settle our life in the Australian way of life. So then, we would like to contribute, bring good what we have from Vietnam, then contribute more to the multicultural Australia.
Yeah, wow, wonderful. I mean, obviously, given the nature of your business, it's quite a targeted idea. Did you find the Catalysr program helpful in terms of refining the idea? Like, did you walk in with a much broader idea, or did you know that you wanted to do this from day one? And, how did you find that the Catalysr program helped you in shaping that idea as you went through?
Okay. So when I come up with these ideas, I have a pretty more broader target market. But then when I go through Catalysr program, they refine it and they they advise me on the fact that I should funnel it a bit more targeted. And if you can have a very, very small target market, but if you can be the best and do a really best job and become the best in that field, then that target market should be enough for you, and you don't need to open yourself to the market that is way too big. So then after I go through that program, they refine it with me. They give me some great advice, and also they advise me on what the best way for me to do the marketing and how to how to get our name out there for these people to contact us, because the hardest thing when you first started a business is how to get your customer trust you, and they come to you and they use your service. Because in my experiences, those first customers that you have are the hardest one to get. The moment you got more and more successes, more visa application being granted, and you got more success story, then the latter customers, they will naturally come. So Catalysr is really helping me to be strong enough, have enough strategy in place to get those first customers come through the door and give them a great customer service, and hopefully they will return and introduce, refer more of their friends to us. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, you mentioned you work with a lot of interesting clients, and it gives you a great sense of job satisfaction to be helping these people. Are there any sort of client stories that really stand out?
Well, a lot of my clients, they really want their what I can say is my clients, there is a lot of I have a number of clients that mainly for each clients that I have, then each of them got their own story that really affect me. But I think to give an example of a particular case, it can be a bit hard. But I can tell you one story about a client we are helping at the moment. This client come to Australia, just got their visa granted in July last year for the business talent visa subclass 132, who need to invest at least $1.5 million into Sydney to establish or purchase an existing business, and also create 5 full-time jobs for Australian permanent resident and Australian citizen. So she actually is her main business in Vietnam is doing trade in metals, but she really keen on the importing and exporting between Vietnam and Australia, and she would like, and because of that she really keen to join in this business innovation and investment program of the Australian government to open up a business in Australia. So that business at the moment is she had invested into a mixed use building in Fairfield and is open up like a fresh food supermarket. And with this supermarket, what is she planning to do is she import the products from Vietnam to this supermarket, and from this supermarket will retail to the Australian public, and at the same time she can do a lot of wholesale to all the Asian grocery shops, you know, in the Vietnamese community or in Chinese community in Sydney. And at the same time with this business she can then export the Australian product from Sydney or from Tasmania, like, you know, all kind of cherries and all the grain nuts back to Vietnam, because this is something that the Vietnamese people really like, those high quality Australian products. For this client, she also have 3 children of hers that also be the dependents applicants with her application as well. So because she invested into Australia, they get the opportunities to also migrate with her, and they come here. They really enjoy the Australian way of life. They attending Australian school, and they love it. And when she, and you know, and now I'm asking hers and asking their children. Okay, so after just 6 months to not even 1 year in Australia, do you want to go back home? And they say, no, you know, I enjoy my study here, and I want to, you know, to learn what I can in Australia, and then, you know, to support my mom in building that bilateral trade between Australia and Vietnam. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Well, that's great. So in terms of, I think one of the biggest things about being in the migration industry, from what I can see, is the importance of community and connections. Can you give do you have any reflections on having come here during your high school years and built up connections from both Vietnam and Australia? Do you have any reflections for any migrapreneurs that are coming over to Australia in terms of the importance of building your community networks and then using them appropriately when you're trying to accelerate your business?
Yep. Absolutely. I think connection and networking is vital in establishing and having in any successful business. And for my advice for any migrapreneurs, before they even launch the business, is they should, you know, first is, you know, try to attend a lot of networking events within their widest business community where they live. You know, just shown up and you start making connection, their friend, and talk to people and start building those relationships. And it takes time to build these. And but all the time, always be consistent with your always be consistent and with your in whatever you do, and build up that good reputations. So do what you say and always walk the talk. And then once you do it, the more people get to know you, when they trust you, and when you launch your business, it's very easy for you to could ask the help from your business network, or they can you know, they will more willingly to help you to go with you on that journey and be succeed with you.
Yeah, wow. And did you find like a program that I would imagine like Catalysr very useful in helping you develop those networks and very quickly, given that you were surrounded by a lot of like-minded people and people who were able to help?
Yep. So I think the unique points about Catalysr is they not only just help me to have an access to a network of like-minded migrapreneurs like myself, but they also give me an opportunity to have access to the mentors those that are really successful in Australia, and they have a lot of experience before them, so they can share a lot of the mistakes that they made in the past. So then the migrapreneurs, the young entrepreneurs like myself or my colleagues in my cohorts can learn a lot from them. And not only that, Catalysr also gives us access and meeting a lot of local MPs or local members of parliament, we can learn and start build up our networks and understanding about different business policies, etc. So I think from my personal perspective, I really think that Catalysrs that helped me to build up my business network a lot, and I think without that, I might not be where I am today. Yeah.
And so just piggybacking off that question, I mean, what would you say to potential migrantpreneurs out there who are thinking about applying? I mean, you've already covered off some amazing benefits that you got from Catalysr. I mean, what would you say to these guys listening right now?
What I would say is, number one is, do a good preparations before you launch your business, and by having good preparation, I mean, start making, going to networking event, making good connections, and start selecting with you, the right partners that can go with you on these journeys, and then, if you have an opportunities, then applying for Catalysr program, because from my personal experience, I can see there's a tremendous benefits that you can receive from this program. And last but not least, what I'm trying to say is just go for it. I mean, the journey ahead, the journey of being an entrepreneur is not rosy. It certainly is not rosy. It's gonna involve a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, a lot of blood, but at the end of the day, you can, if you put enough hard work in, I think there will be reward at the end of the road. And for me at the moment, I have launched my business for approximately almost 2.5 years now, and I have never turned back. I have never looked back, and I think that is one of the most the most correct decision that I have made.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really inspiring story, Long. Everything that we mentioned will be in the show notes below the show as well. And is there any last message that you want to leave with the people listening at home?
Just go for it, right? Go for it, and never give up.
Wow.
Until you make it become a reality.
Wow, don't let your dreams be dreams. One fun question before we leave off today.
Yep.
You mentioned that you trained as a chef to do some cooking food. So taking us into the alternative universe where you never joined the Catalysr program, if you were to start up a restaurant, 2 questions. What would the cuisine be? And if you had a name for a restaurant, what would it be?
Okay. Well, for the cuisine, so it's definitely, Vietnamese fusion cuisine. So, meeting the East with the West, some kind of cuisine. And the name of the restaurant, fairly tricky to think of my head for a good one, but I come back to you.
Maybe that's the next venture.
Yeah, for the next venture.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule, Long. It's really inspiring to hear about your work with the community and your successful journey after graduating from the first ever Catalysr cohort. and we look forward to seeing you around the Catalysr community in the future.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for doing this very meaningful podcast event as well. And I think with the sharing of experiences, and we can all learn from everyone in the Catalysr cohort, so we can be successful together.
Well, thank you, Long.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey team, thanks for tuning in to that podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Catalysr. Catalysr is an award-winning pre-accelerated program for refugees and migrants who wish to start their own startup.
If you're interested in applying for the Catalysr program, you can head to the website catalysr.com.au, find out a bit more about what we do. Thanks so much for tuning in.